says we're live, but I'm not seeing anything but our logo. Are you on it as well?
If I click into it, I can watch the video. Oh, there we go.
And it shows,
now I see it.
And it shows us.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're live. We are live on YouTube. I'm going to give this live thing a shot for anybody that stumbles across this. Recording our episode. And so we typically record them a couple weeks in advance. Then edit them, post them up to be scheduled out Tuesdays at 6 a.m. our time. But they get recorded about 2.5 weeks in advance. So here we are. And this episode is not our normal episode. Normally we do movies. But every about fourth or fifth one we'll mix it up with some music or TV shows, I don't know, comic books, things that, from our childhood. But, all right, whenever you're ready, go ahead and kick off the live episode.
Yeah. And we will mention, like Derek was saying, this is a work in progress. So
that's right.
Try to get this down a little better as the weeks go on. But welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. I am Ryan, joined by my brother Derek. And before we get our icebreaker question going, I do want to say one thing. Very, very, very happy birthday to David Hayter, the voice of Solid Snake.
Oh, really? Is that today?
Today is his birthday. And I know you and I have been loving going back and replaying the Metal Gear Solid games. So I thought that would be fitting to give a shout out to him. I'm sure he's listening for a happy birthday. So our icebreaker question that I had asked you last week, hopefully you thought about it. What was the first comic you remember reading?
I tried to give this some thought, and trying to remember the first one I ever read. I couldn't tell you. It's just kind of a blur. I feel like I've grown up with them. I've had them longer than I could read, longer than I can remember. I have early memories of collecting them, and probably one of the earliest memories I have of holding a comic book and looking at it was, I couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7. And we were at my grandparents' farm out there in Missouri. And in one of the rooms, like they have, several rooms. And I'm staying in one of the rooms, visiting my grandparents. It's just me. And I'm going, as kids do, going through different things, being left alone to rummage through the house for whatever entertainment I could find at the time. And my uncle had a box with some biker magazines and some Incredible Hulk magazines, like some from like the 70s. And so I remember looking at those and thinking that was pretty cool. You got some Incredible Hulk here.
Yeah.
At the time, they were probably a good like 10, 15 years old. But yeah, that's probably my earliest memory.
Yeah.
And then I think the first one I remember really going out to get myself and read, and actually read the comic book, was back in the, I think, early mid 90s, I think in 94, 95 time frame. They did the X-Men did the Fatal Attraction series. And I read through that. I went around and I collected them all and read that whole little arc. I think there was like 6 of them all together. And that was probably the earliest one I have. How about you?
Very cool. Yeah. I remember at Dad's house, I don't remember where I found them, but there was a massive box that he had. At least at the time, it seemed massive. But it was his old collection of comic books. And
I didn't know he had a collection of comic books.
but it wasn't like, superhero stuff. It was like Archie or not Archie. I'm sorry, Richie Rich, Casper. Um, oh, I'm trying to think of what the other ones were. I don't know. It was those sort of comics from like the 60s or whatever, and a whole bunch of them. And I remember reading through those multiple times over and over again, and they were just little fun stories. It was just like, I don't know, Richie Rich got into some hijinks, and this is whatever happened. But that was kind of my gateway into comic books. And then you started getting me into superheroes and stuff. You and our cousin Jack was huge into superheroes, still is. And I remember going with you. I think I mentioned this on the show before. We went up to Marcy's Cards and Comics that was down the street from us. And I remember you bought me, maybe with Dad's money, I don't know, but it was one of the Weapon X, I think, if I remember right, one of the Weapon X comics, and Wolverine was like burning and he was coming down.
That was the was that the from the Age of Apocalypse series?
I think so. Yeah. And I read that like I literally, it fell apart because I read it so much. And then from that point, I remember Pizza Hut had like X-Men comics for a while there.
Yeah. They had the VHSs that you could get as well from the TV show.
Yeah. So like the first superhero stuff was X-Men. But like my very first comic book memory was reading Dad's Richie Rich and Casper comics. And those are the two I remember. I know there were a few other characters in there, but they were pretty fun. I wish I could find those again. I don't know, who knows what happened to them. I don't know. Maybe they're in a storage unit somewhere, but
that might be
if I could find them, I'm definitely going to pull those out and keep them. Yeah. So let us know if you like comics. Let us know in the comments. We're live right now. You can let us know in the live chat, or you can leave a comment on the video. Let us know what you like, or what was your very first comic, I guess, that you read. We'll read them on the air. So
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's get the intro rolling, and we will come back and we will get into our episode for tonight.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
All right. And starting this episode off. So a while back, we did our top 80s songs. It was songs that define the 80s, I think.
We've done two. We've done two musical episodes. Okay. We did the top songs that define the 80s for us, and we did no skips. So what five discs would you play while playing games?
Yes.
Circa 2005.
Yes. So we're going to be doing another music episode. We love these very much. This is going to be our top 5 90s songs. And we are also going to tack on at the end our 3 favorite albums from the 90s. So, Derek, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
All right. I'm a little... So... musically, I've been all over the place and been on quite a journey, especially through the 90s. So you got to keep in mind, for me, I ended the decade of the 90s at 18.
Yeah.
So this is like my adolescence, my youth. This is all of it. This is like when you get the most exposure, or whenever your musical roots are set in this time period. And for me, it was this time period. And like I said, I went through a lot of changes. I listened to a lot of different things. I was exposed to a lot of different stuff. But for the purposes of this episode, I tried to focus in on stuff that was released in the 90s. And I focused on my high school years, what I was listening to around then, because that seemed to be what I still listen to. I didn't want to pick out things that maybe I don't listen to anymore. So I wanted to pick things that have stood the test of time for me. So these are things that I still listen to. I still enjoy. And again, these are not the end all be all of our lists. We will definitely have to come around and do another version of this, because there's a lot. With that said, though, I'm going to go subtle and start with, in no particular order.
Yes, these are in no particular order at all.
My first song is Pepper by the Butthole Surfers. I just love this song. I don't know what it is. It's something about that rhythm of speaking the lyrics, and it's just a very visual song for me. It invokes a lot of imagery. I can see these little scenes playing, these little vignettes playing out in my head as I listen to this song. And it's just like, it's kind of like a list of things and events that are happening that aren't necessarily related, but kind of are. And it just kind of seems like it sounds to me like somebody's just reading the newspaper's headlines and somebody else is playing music in the background. But I love it. I just love the rhythm of the song, and I just really like all of it, just the whole way through. This is one of my favorite songs from the 90s, and I love it.
I can't say I've ever heard this song. The only butthole surf. the name. How do you even say it without smiling? Just poetic genius. The only one I think I've heard was, I don't even remember the name of it. It was on like Guitar Hero or something like that.
I think it was this song.
Was it this? Okay, then I've heard this song.
I think it was this song. Yes. I don't know. I'll look it up while you're giving yours.
Yeah. Jeez. Butthole surfers. Yeah, so I went in kind of the same direction you did as far as picking these out. I thought back to songs that I enjoyed at the time, and ones that, like you said, have stood the test of time that I continue to still listen to today. Yeah. Now, there is one on here that I didn't discover till probably the early 2000s, but it was released in the 90s, so I am counting that because it's one of my favorite songs, and it's still a 90s song.
See, I purposely left that off. So anything that I discovered after the 90s, I left off, because there was a lot of good music in that time frame and a lot of stuff that I discovered after the fact.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stay with my little 17, 18-year-old self and pick out those songs.
I feel like I have to kind of go a little bit different direction than you, because I turned 10 in 97. So when the 90s ended, I was 12. So I have to kind of...
That's fair.
I mean, I remember all the 90s incredibly well, and I kind of grew up in that. I did grow up in that era. But anyway, so I will also mention a lot of these songs hold a special place to me, because when I worked in radio, I played at least 3 of these on the radio station quite a bit. And so I also have that with it too. But I will go with my first one is from Blues Traveler. Their 4 album released in 1994, The Hook. The song is so good. It's literally about nothing. Like you're listening to him sing the lyrics, and if you really listen to the lyrics, he just, like, there's one line he says, "I've said nothing so far," but the hook brings you back, and it sure does. I love this song so much. It never gets old. I love listening to it, and gosh, I mean, it makes me think, like, clearly, they're Blues Traveler. Did you ever see there was a kind of getting off topic a little bit, but there was one of those mock commercials that somebody put up on YouTube years ago, and it was like when Guitar Hero was really popular, but they're like Harmonica Hero, and they've got like this somebody playing this big like harmonica peripheral thing that's hooked up to the TV, and like, but all this, they were listening to songs, they were all Blues Traveler songs. And it just shows this kid, like, he gets done and his mouth is just completely red and everything because he's been playing this harmonica. But anyway, I don't know, made me think of that. But yeah, Blues Traveler.
Yeah. Blues Traveler 4, that's a great one. I had that on one of my previous lists. I think that was on, I think I mentioned, we asked, what was the first CD you ever owned?
Yes.
Or got, or something like that. And my answer was that album.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I went back through that no skips list and purposely left off anything that was on there.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was on that episode, I'm not mentioning it here.
Yeah.
And that was on that episode, but that would have absolutely been in my tops as well. That is one of my favorite songs for sure.
Yeah.
That Run Around, I mean, that whole album is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. You ready for my next one?
I'm ready. Go right ahead.
This one's a little, it's a little cliche, and I'm okay with that. I've come back around. It is Green Day with Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. And it's a little cliche, especially around
that's fine.
The time it came out. And for about 5 years, it seemed like every high school graduation played this song. It was at the end of like season finales for TV shows and series finales. And this song just totally encapsulated this idea of I don't know, looking at the past, leaving the past behind you and looking ahead to the future and the unknown and the known and all these different things. And I don't know, I heard it again, and man, it's just a really great song. And I really wanted to put a Green Day song on here. Like, Green Day for me was just like, at the time, was just like a huge influence in my musical upbringing, if you will. From Kerplunk and Dookie and Insomniac and all the way through
Nimrod and
American Idiot, Nimrod, all those. And like, I think every album at this point that they've released that I could get my hands on, and they were all albums that I could just put on and listen to through and through. But this song in particular I picked because I feel like this song is it's a turning point for them as well. This is where this song allows them to move on and grow. This gives them that giant step from being just like a punk band playing in basements and dive bars to filling arenas and ushering in this whole new wave of punk to come in the early 2000s. And American Idiot came out 2001, I think, something like that. 2000, I think.
No, it was 2004. It was
it that late? No.
Yeah, because I remember I was 17 and I went to the store to buy it, and they would not, Hastings would not sell it to me because
September 2004.
Okay. Hastings wouldn't sell it to me because I wasn't 18, but like a couple weeks before that, I went there and bought a Slipknot album, and they had no problem selling it to me. It was just it was a different person at the register.
It was,
So, yeah.
That's all it took.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so this just like, for me, this is kind of like that turning point for them where they start becoming like a real, like, not just like a garage band, like they become like a real musical force. Like, they're writing, it takes it to a whole nother level. And it just, like I said, it just takes them into the new millennia. It takes us as punk listeners into the new millennia with this, and ushering in this whole new sound and like this evolution of it. And, I don't know. I love it. It's one of my favorite songs. And I had to pick it for this.
I would agree with you. I like this song, and the problem like with saying it, like you were saying, it's like it's so cliche almost to say like,
Yeah.
I like this song, but it's funny that that this song jettisoned them into really the mainstream when really the song is about them, saying goodbye to like the underground music scene and all that. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, this song is, I think a lot of people, it's their first Green Day song that they hear, just because it's
Mhm.
played so much. Well, I say that probably before that would be true before American Idiot came out, because I could see any one of the songs from American Idiot being a first song for somebody now, because that album was like
Yeah.
almost like their white album.
It turned into a Broadway play.
It, yeah. But
So,
that's a good pick. I remember listening to this a lot. I picked up like their international super hits album or something like that. I've lost Derek. So here I am. I hope everybody's doing okay. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here, but we'll wait until Derek gets back online. If you're listening, if you're watching, whatever you're doing, let us know what you're in the comments here on the chat or whatever, what your top 5 favorite songs are from the 90s. I remember there's a lot of songs that the 90s just really holds a kind of a special place in my heart with the music. I remember going to the city pool a whole lot, and there would be constantly like a modern sort of music that was on there. Whatever. There you are. You're back. I was
there we go.
telling everybody about when I like how much I like 90s music, and when I was going to like the city pool, they would have like the today's hits on the radio, and there would always be all these like a lot of these 90s songs because it was in the 90s. But there's just so many good ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I think I dropped out right whenever you were talking about kids discovering American Idiot.
Oh yeah. So what I was saying was that I remember that song was a gateway to me into Green Day, and I ended up buying their International Super Hits compilation album because I liked that song, and I was like, oh, I want to listen to some of the other songs they have. So I kind of got introduced to a lot of their other hits, through that. But okay, my next one.
To yours.
Yeah. This one is a little departure from what we've been quite a departure from Green Day. 1991, from the album Brand New Man. It is Boot Scootin' Boogie by Brooks and Dunn.
Oh my.
I love me some 90s country. Absolutely love 90s country. I love the honky tonk sound that came out of like, I mean, no, there was a honky tonk sound before, but like the 90s brought that honky tonk sound back. And there was
like a little bit of rock to it.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of songs I could pick, but I knew I had to pick one that was 90s country. And I mean, this song is so good. Like I will listen. It's on the radio. If I hear it on the radio, I'll turn it up. Like I'll listen. I'll just find it on YouTube or something, or on Spotify, and listen to it sometimes, because I just have a hankering to listen to this song. And I remember my wife's grandmother was in the nursing home. It was right after we got married, and the nursing home had a family barbecue night or whatever, and it was like a country western sort of theme, and everybody was outside, and they had a guy there that was DJing, but he was also like, they were doing line dancing and like square dancing. And I remember this song came on, and gosh, I didn't square dance at that time, but I do remember people coming out and line dancing and everything to this song. And it was kind of fun watching some of the elderly folk go out there and try to line dance too. Yeah. But I remember this song, I listened to it as a kid. And I think one of the reasons I like 90s country so much, and in particular this song, it reminds me of our dad. because he would listen to a lot of this stuff in the truck, and I was in the truck with him a lot or whatever. I'd go with him to jobs when he was, he'd do odd jobs, kind of moonlighting, doing carpenter jobs here and there. And I'd go with him, and he'd always have this stuff on the radio. And I remember listening to this song multiple times with him, and just being in the house listening to it. And yeah. So this Brooks and Dunn, Boot Scootin' Boogie, good song.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm myself, yes, I love some 90s country. At the time, I liked it, I enjoyed it, but I didn't grow an appreciation for it until later, probably like 20, late 2000s, early, whatever, 20 aughts, whatever they're called. But yeah, and yeah, like you said, it just reminds me of Dad. Especially like for me, it's Alan Jackson. It always reminds me of Dad. And yeah, that's one thing that I did not include on my list was any country music.
Yeah,
just because I feel like that's almost like I got to do like a whole another list of just like 90s country music if I'm going to pick one. I can't pick just one. But like I'm with you. It reminds me of Dad and everything, and I love me some 90s country music.
Yeah,
that's some good stuff.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna swing as hard another way again, and my next one, this will be my third one, is Beastie Boys' "Sabotage."
Oh yeah,
this song just like a bullet out of a gun. It just takes off from opening to ending. It is just pure energy. It's so much fun. Every time I hear this song, I feel like I just need to be running through the streets or something.
Yes.
Like this song comes on and it's got such energy to it. There's I don't know, somehow they just managed to bottle up like a whole like nuclear power plant's worth of energy and just stick it in the song.
They totally do.
And it just takes off like a rocket. Yep. And I don't know if you remember the music video for this, I don't know if they made this song and then made the perfect music video to accompany it, or if I see this as the perfect music video because it just goes so well with it. But whenever I hear this song in my head, I see this music video, like just like 70s mustache cops in Crown Vics just tearing it around the town. And like I said, the song's just so much fun, and you cannot hear this song and not just get an instant jolt of energy from it. It's so much fun.
Can't stand it, I know you planned it. You just like oh my gosh, the bass that's just driving this song is so good. And then I can't not think about every time I hear this song, I can't not envision
not think about Star
first
Trek
scene from Star Trek.
Yes. Another one where it just like it perfectly encapsulates the visual element of this song.
Yes. You're right. If I'm listening to this, like driving down the road, I'm cranking it up to 11. This song is just it's
instantly going 10 miles an hour faster.
Yes. This is high energy. You're right. Like if you are gonna like represent energy in a song, it is "Sabotage" by the Beastie Boys. It's just so good. It's my favorite one of their songs. It's great, and I can't believe I'd forgotten about it when we were doing this. So good. Yeah.
For me, it's this, and immediately followed by Intergalactic. Those two songs are just so much fun from them. And I love them. And they really kind of cap off the decade, like, because this came out in like the early 90s and Intergalactic came out in like the late 90s. And it's just a good like back and forth. But this is Sabotage. Absolutely. That's mine.
It's great.
Number 3, what you got?
My next one. So, Goo Goo Dolls. From a Boy Named Goo album,
Goo Goo Dolls.
released in 1995. It was Name, their first real big hit. The Goo Goo Dolls are one of my favorite groups Almost everything they've put out, I've listened to. I wanted to put "Here Is Gone" on here, and then I realized that that released in like 2002. So that one's my favorite song of theirs. But "Name" is probably the first. Well, it was their first big hit, so it was the first one of their songs that I heard, and it was all over the radio when it came out. And I've seen these guys live, and their live version of this song is great. Just everything about the Goo Goo Dolls and everything about this song is just it just hits you in all the feels and all just the emotions of like growing up. And even if you can't really relate necessarily to the lyrics, I feel like it still gives you that nostalgia, like listening to it now, of growing up. And I love this group so much. I love this song.
All right. I gotta say, I'm not as familiar with Goo Goo Dolls. I know they did that song for that Nicolas Cage movie,
Iris,
where he's an angel.
Yeah.
Yes.
City of
And
Angels.
that's probably the one that sticks out the most to me as a Goo Goo Doll song.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I couldn't pick out a Goo Goo Doll song.
Yeah.
to save my life.
So that was their last song that they played at the concert I went to. And because that's like their biggest hit, and they started to play it, and then they're like, whoa, hold up. And like they looked down, and on the front row there was a guy proposing to his girlfriend, and they're just like, you can't put a lady on the spot like that. And I don't know, it was pretty funny. And then they started the song back up again after they asked if she'd said yes or whatever. But I knew it when they played that song. I'm like, somebody's going to propose to somebody, because this song is it's like
It's
like
a
romance city song or whatever. But yeah.
All right.
What's your number 4?
Number 4 for me, man. I'm trying to decide how I want to cap this off. I think I'm going to go this route. Okay. So my number 4 is from another band that's one of my all-time favorites. 9 Inch Nails. We're in this together now. Off of the album from 1999, I think, came out.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name of the album right now. Somebody's screaming it at me. Anyways, this song, it's just such a powerfully emotional song. And like, I really love where it is for them, or rather for Trent as an artist, in this like grand scheme of things, like from where the industrial, like hard hitting sound that they had out of the 80s through, Downward Spiral and everything. And then this album totally changed it and gave them a whole nother sound, a whole new sound, gave them different levels to it. And in particular, this song, I just love that little slow build that it has at the beginning, as it's just kind of building, adding one little bit of sound after another until it kind of culminates in these just like screaming lyrics. And I really like it. And to me, whenever I hear it, I hear a love song, a song about devotion, about being together through it all, through the thick and the thin.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that others have expressed that it's not that they interpret it more as a somebody dealing with depression and self-loathing and just hating themselves and coming to terms with who they are and all of that. But I choose to hear the love song, and I'm going for it for that. And again, just one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite bands, and I love it. I enjoy it through and through.
I need to listen to this song. I've not heard it. I'll admit, like, I'm not super familiar with 9 Inch Nails. There's a few songs. What was a really big hit? It was
Closer?
Maybe. I can't remember. It may be that. So there was like one song that I listened to quite a bit, and then I really didn't listen to much of them anymore until Johnny Cash did the cover of "Hurt."
Oh yeah, Hurt. Yeah,
Which I don't know. The Cash cover is really good, but
it's his song now.
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. But yeah, I need to listen to some more Nine Inch Nails. I've never really been big into like industrial rock so much.
Yeah.
But I really haven't listened to a lot of it either. So that's something I need to fix. I need to go back and maybe listen.
I think really like from like if you're not so much into the industrial rock, but from the Into the Void, I believe is the title of the album. From that point on, it's still got the industrial roots to it, but it's a more polished sound. It's not as rough as the industrial tends to be. Yeah. And there's a lot more work, it seems like. It feels like that's going into it musically, as opposed to the earlier stuff feels more like emotional response. Like it's more savage in that way. And but yeah, definitely like from Into the Void on, it's a different sound, but it's all equally as good. But I would recommend starting there and going forward, and then maybe go back if you really want to.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check them out. I'll have to look a little more into that. My next one is Weezer, Buddy Holly, off of their Blue album. Came out in 1994.
Yeah.
I have this on vinyl, and it sounds great on vinyl. I can't believe that this album came out in 1994. Like, I feel like Weezer has not been around that long, but apparently they have. But man, this song is just, it's fun, and it's so catchy, and it is just a pure joy to listen to it every time I hear it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's,
it's fun to sing in the car. It's great. Carpool karaoke. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like me some Weezer. Weezer's just like good all around for sure.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they really are. There was a movie, I think it was one of the Troll movies, that they had Islands. What's that song? Is it Islands?
I don't know.
Somebody's screaming it at me. I can't remember. But anyway, one of the Trolls movies had their song on there. And I played it in the car for Harper, and she started singing the Trolls version. She's like, "Wait a minute, this isn't the Trolls version." I said, "No, this is the this is the Weezer version. This is the original." But it's kind of fun to do that, because like the new Trolls movies will have all these songs on there that they've kind of redone to be more like, kid friendly and Trolls themed. Yeah. And then her and I will go back after we watch the movies, and we'll listen to the original versions of them. And it's just kind of fun. But yeah,
school her a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, my whole obsession. Well, I don't want to say it's an obsession, but my enjoyment of Weezer started with Buddy Holly.
I think so with most of us. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's one of the earliest memories I have of listening to Weezer is Buddy Holly, that whole album. I'm blanking trying to think of other songs that I remember from that, because I didn't discover Weezer until, again, like the 2000s. Like after high school and everything, I discovered Weezer. Like it had been on and it had been around and I'd heard it, but I didn't really dive into it until like 2005, probably 2004, somewhere in that range. And but yeah, Buddy Holly was that's a good one. I remember that one.
Yep.
For sure. All right, time to end my list to cap it off. Now, this was a very hard decision here, because I was torn.
What was this?
I was torn between two ends of a thread, if you will. And to me, nothing says 90s like Nirvana. But I did not pick a Nirvana song. I decided to go with The Evolution and picked Everlong by Foo Fighters as
I was
my
close
last
to
song.
putting that on my list.
Yes. So for me, I picked that just because, like I said, this is kind of the Foo Fighters took what Kurt and Dave and Kevin and all them put together with Nirvana and started, and the Foo Fighters took that ball and ran with it and really just evolved that whole sound. It really it helped to usher rock through grunge into the more modern era, and it took that grunge sound into the future, if you will. And it's just, this one in particular is one of my favorites. I love it in the original. I love the acoustical, like slowed down version of it. Every time I hear it, I hear covers of it, and I still love it. It's just such a beautiful song, and I love it every which way that I hear it. And I think this was on the second album, but those first few albums were just so packed full of great music from the Foo Fighters. It was hard to even pick one song, but I had to go with this song. Like I said, just because it's such a great song, and I love it. And it's in an age of music videos in the 90s. This was a fun music video to watch. It was just, and really, like, all the music videos that the Foo Fighters did in the 90s, they were just so much fun to watch. They had so much fun with it, and they were just so they were a little goofy, a little campy, but ultimately it was a fun visual to go with the music that was being played. And I remember in this one in particular, at one point, like, he just like looks at his hand and it gets like really big, and he just starts swinging it around and like knocking the bad guys over and everything. And then there was like a point where he grabs, like, he lays back in the bed and a bunch of legs go over his torso, and he's holding on to him, and then he wakes up from a dream and he's got like a bunch of logs, and he like stands up and drops them. Like, it was just, the visuals of the music video were great, and they just had an art to their music videos that I really enjoyed, and a lot of fun with them. And but yeah, so for me it was Everlong, Foo Fighters. That's what I had to end this with, and one of my all-time favorite songs for sure.
So, we talk about Foo Fighters, and we talk about how that's kind of the evolution, it is, of Nirvana. But had we not lost Cobain, do you think Nirvana would have kind of transformed that a little bit? Or, I mean, it clearly wouldn't be full on Foo Fighters, but
no.
What would have happened with that?
I think they would have been like the Beatles, like they would have split off, and we would have had, like, your John Lennon and your
Paul McCartney.
Thank you. So like, I think Cobain was like the Lennon, and Grohl is like the McCartney, and I think we would have had that. We would have had like a splitting, a schism, if you will, in that music. I think they probably would have done a few more albums, but I think eventually Grohl would have wanted to do the things that he's doing, and I don't think Cobain would have wanted to do those so much. He would have wanted to. I think they would have ended up going in different directions. And I think right about now we'd be looking at a reunion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think about that all the time. Like, man, what could have been? Like, what great music could have been made? But I mean, it was made by Dave, and we missed out on whatever Cobain would have continued with. That's regrettable, but that's how that goes.
How it is. Yeah.
How about you? Last one.
Yeah. So my last one, I'm going to see if you can guess it. From 1999. I'm laughing because this is almost a stereotype. From the album Human Clay.
Human Clay? Oh my God. Is this Creed?
Creed's Higher.
Oh man,
Man.
with
Total-
Creed.
Total dad rock. My
Oh,
friends and I
man.
used to joke that this was like Creed was like tough guy rock.
Yeah,
I don't even care. I really like Creed. And this song, like, I remember when it came out, I was in middle school and everybody went out and at some point bought this album. Like, everybody in school had this. And oh my gosh, this song was everywhere. And I think you can look it up on YouTube. There's even a very famous or infamous, I guess, video of Creed playing, I think, at a Dallas Cowboys halftime show. And there's this guy like flying through the stadium, and they're playing higher, and it is the most cheesy thing I've ever seen. But man, is it awesome! It's just it's great. This song is like every time it comes on, I have to turn it up. I have to listen to it. And really, most Creed songs I have to, but this one is really what got a lot of people into Creed. They had a couple albums before this, but Human Clay just jettisoned. It was like Green Day's Good Riddance. Higher was just like boom, like it shot them into the stratosphere, and it did me too. This song, it just pumps me up every time I listen to it. Did you listen to much Creed?
Nickelback.
Yeah, no. Oh, gosh, no.
Yeah, I remember this coming out. I had it. I got the album as well, and I listened to it. I don't know. It didn't hit me as hard. It wasn't on my. It wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even consider Creed. I forgot about him almost completely. But they come on every now and then on the radio, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's fun. That's yeah, I enjoy it. It's fine. Yeah, I enjoy it. But yeah, all right. So that's our. I guess that's a top 10 list because we each had 5. So that's 10 songs.
Those are our favorite 90s songs as of right now, because this is a fluid thing. This is always going to change. In 10 years, I'm going to be like, oh man, I'm, really digging on What's Up by 4 Non-Blondes right now.
Never. No,
one of these days. One of these days. Everyone goes through a What's Up stage.
I gotta say, though, the 4 Non-Blondes and the Cranberries are 2 bands. Whenever they come on, for me, it's just like nails on a chalkboard. I don't know what it is. It's just they grate on me, and it's just I don't know. They don't mesh with me. I can't.
You don't like the repetition of zombie.
That one, yeah, that's definitely the worst.
Well, I was
just like more aggressive with each version or with each. Yes,
in a band I played in, we did that song. We covered that song. Oh, I would get so tired of singing it. Like, zombie, like finish this song.
Maybe that's why she's getting angry towards the end.
Yeah, probably. She's like, just stop it.
All right, you ready to move on to some honorable mentions?
Yeah, we're gonna do so our honorable mentions, like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is gonna be 3 full albums that we think are the cream of the crop of the 90s. Yeah.
90s bombs.
Yeah. What you got?
All right. So for me, I'm going to start with this is my curveball, if you will. This one's this one's outside of everything else. So instead of saving it for the end, I'm going to just throw the pitch right here. Dangerous by Michael Jackson. I had this cassette tape and played it so much, and it was one of my favorite albums for the longest time. And this came out in I think 91, 92. I was like 10, maybe 11 whenever this came out, and got the album. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan in my youngest years, as far back as I can remember. And this was kind of like, this for me was the peak of Michael Jackson, was Dangerous. And this whole album, I loved it, played it on a loop from Jam to Dangerous. It was so much fun for me, and I really enjoyed it. Although I gotta say, I listened to it again recently. I have not listened to it in like decades. I listened to it again recently, and I didn't know what I was listening to. I will say, because a lot of these songs are, I mean, it's not that they're inappropriate, but I definitely probably should not have been singing them. Anyways, they were a lot of fun. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I liked. I think my favorite song on the album had to have been, I mean, Black and White was the big one. Black or White was the big one. That was like the big popular one. But I really like Dangerous. That's like the last track on the song. Or Remember the Time. I really like that one too.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great album. Like I said, you got Jam, you got Why You Want to Trip on Me, In the Closet, She Drives Me Wild, Remember the Time, Can't Let Her Get Away, Heal the World, Black or White, Who Is It, Give It to Me, Will You Be There, Keep the Faith, Gone Too Soon, and Dangerous. And that was, it was just such a great album. I really loved it. And yeah, that's my first honorable mention album is Michael Jackson's Dangerous.
You know, I think that Michael Jackson is just timeless, right? I mean, you can listen to that, any of his stuff anywhere. And I have no shame in enjoying listening to Michael Jackson.
No.
Like, his stuff was great. Like, his whole library is just almost godlike in scale.
Yeah.
You know, it's and yeah, I mean, I need to go and listen to this album. Like, I just remember the hits from this album. I don't believe I ever really actually have sat down and listened to it. My big album of his, which is a lot of people's favorite, Thriller. That's another one I've got on vinyl in the other room. But yeah, I need to listen to some more Michael Jackson 5 too. Jackson 5 is so good.
All of it, yeah. I even liked Janet Jackson back in the day.
Oh,
like, she had a great album back in the 90s. Yep. It was one of my favorites as well, but that's not on this list. We're going to strike that from the record.
Yeah.
What do you got to start us off with?
Yeah, so I told you I love him. Goo Goo Dolls, Dizzy Up the Girl.
Double dipping.
Came out in 1998. And it had Slide, Broadway, Iris, Dizzy. What else was on that album?
I remember Slide. Yeah. Okay.
Gosh. Yeah. I mean, hit after hit after hit on that album. That's like A Boy Named Goo, and Name was, you know, kind of put them in the kind of public eye. But then when Dizzy Up the Girl came out, because that, like I said, Iris was on there, and then of course they put that on City of Angels, I think the same year. And yeah, that whole album is just fantastic. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's so good. It's Goo Goo Dolls. I love the Goo Goo Dolls.
I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, you will. It's really. I swore that you had this album at one point, but maybe I
may have had it for. I think you mentioned Slide. I may have had it for like one of the other songs.
Yeah,
because there was like a period in like the late 90s where every bit of my earnings went into CDs. I had amassed a collection of like, I don't know, 100, maybe 150 CDs by the time I graduated high school.
You had a lot of them. You bring them up here.
Yeah.
We'd listen to
those
them.
old binders. Yeah. Loved them.
Yep.
Yeah. And I may have had it at one point, especially there towards the end. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
What's
your number two?
Number two. This is another one where I'm like, I'm not sure which way I want. Okay, I'm gonna go this way. Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream. It was hard. I was gonna go with Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, but I feel like Siamese Dream although Melancholy is a little more polished, it has a little more of a produced sound. It's got more of like it reminds me of like whenever Queen did Bohemian Rhapsody. Like it's just like it's very not broad, big and planned out. Very I don't know. It's just but so I went with Siamese Dream just because they're again through and through. There's just more that I'm going to listen to on that album. I mean, Cherub Rock, Today, Quiet, Hummer, Disarm, Space Boy, Geek USA, Mayonnaise. Rocket, even like just through and through on that whole album. I could play it and listen to it. Whereas I felt like with Infinite Sadness, I would listen to a couple songs on the first disc and a few songs on the second disc. And I was constantly jumping back and forth, but there wasn't, although it does have 1979, which is
I love
one of
song.
my favorite songs.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had to go with Siamese Dream for an album. I did want to go with Melancholy Infinite Sadness so I could sneak in a second, technically get two discs in there, but yeah. We're gonna go Siamese Dream. I just think it had a better through sound, like from beginning to end. It flowed better. Well, it didn't flow better, but I mean it had more. It hooked me more consistently. I was happier with it throughout. There wasn't anything I wanted to skip. So for me, it was Melancholy or Siamese Dream, Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
How about you?
I wasn't. I don't think I've listened to that album very much. I've listened to the hits off of it. But yeah, I'm kind of like I Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness was my jam for Smashing Pumpkins. There's just so many good songs on that album. But
yeah,
Cherub Rock though, that's a really good song. So, yeah, good pick.
Today,
yeah.
Or whenever they did Landslide, that's even but that's another album entirely again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are they still? They're not. No, Billy Corgan's still doing stuff. I don't think
he's doing wrestling now.
Is he? Wrestling?
Yes. He's got like a show where he's got like a Tennessee wrestling circuit or something like that.
What?
Like, yeah, he's like all into wrestling now. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
I know. Like I heard about it. I was like, that's got to be a joke. And then, like, sure enough, I started seeing commercials for it, and it's a thing. He's got like a whole wrestling thing going on. So apparently, it's cool. Whatever. I mean, I enjoyed me some wrestling. So
yeah. Wow. Okay. Gonna leave that there. My second one is Nirvana Unplugged. Came out in 1994. I think it's the best Nirvana album, and I know it's a compilation of a lot of their songs, and there's not really any what's the word I'm looking for? Original material that's on there, but I think that's just their best. This is their best performance. The whole thing's good, and then when they've got the Lake of Fire by the Meat Puppets, David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World.
Yes.
On there, and
about a girl,
Come As You Are, Something in the Way, All Apologies,
Petroleum Tea.
Yeah.
This is my number 3. This is my third album.
I knew we would both have this album on there. I knew it.
It's such a great album. Like it's just that acoustic, raw, unplugged, like that whole MTV Unplugged thing that they were doing at this time. Oh my God. Like they did it for Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains. I remember had a really good one.
Eric Clapton's was great.
Yeah. And I even heard like Korn did one in like 2008 or 2009 or something like that. Korn did an acoustic set, MTV Unplugged. And even that was interesting. It's especially like to hear a band like Korn go acoustical. It's the same sound, but it's different, and it's really fun the way they do it. But anyways, back to this one. This one I think was like obviously the most popular one of those. But yeah, I'm with you. Like this is probably my favorite album if not one of my favorite albums, my favorite album from the 90s is this MTV Unplugged one. Because yeah, it's just like, it's this set list of their music that's just like great, fantastic music through and through.
Yeah.
And
even
I'm with you.
So one thing that really, it's always stuck out with me ever since I first heard this, and every time I listen to it, and I believe it is on Man Who Sold the World. There is a brief second where they are playing and something
like something knocks something over.
It makes like a squeal or something. Yes. And you hear it. And it's the imperfections in that album make that album better.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all. You can
hear the drums rattle a little in the reverb of the bass and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Man Who Sold the World, I believe David Bowie even said after this, he said, people don't know me as the man as for Man Who Sold the World anymore. They don't know Man Who Sold the World as a David Bowie song. It is now a Nirvana song. And I give that to them. This is now their song to play. It is not mine anymore. They have taken it to a different place, and it is no longer mine. And that is like, I mean, what better compliment
That's
can you
the
get
ultimate
than
compliment.
The man that wrote it being like, you know what, it's yours now.
Have you watched the series Ozark on Netflix?
No.
Okay, it's really good. But there's a scene in there where somebody is learning to play the Nirvana version of Man Who Sold the World, and yeah, like you're saying, it's just it became their song after this. It was just, gosh, this album is just phenomenal through and through.
Yeah. This is another one I just put on and just I love. Yeah, like I said, beginning to end, man, this is just such a great album, and it there's such emotion in this album that you can feel in every song that they play, and as they're playing it, you can just feel all this emotion that Cobain is exuding into the microphone, and especially Something in the Way. That song just like it kind of like it like haunts me a little bit. It sticks with me, and like this. This is a great album.
It is.
It's top album for sure.
I need to look. I don't know. Are these unplugged sessions available to stream anywhere to watch them?
Yeah, I can stream it on. I have YouTube Music. I can stream it on there.
Well, I mean, just to actually watch them.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked up I bet you could pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet it's on YouTube somewhere.
I wouldn't mind going through and like watching some of these, like the Alice in Chains ones, or
if not that, then maybe like because MTV's under Paramount, so I bet Paramount Plus might have them.
Yeah,
I would guess.
I'll have to check those out.
At least the most popular ones, maybe. I don't know. Something to check out for sure.
Yeah. Well, my last one, since your last one was my second one, I knew we'd match up on that one. It is from 1995. I didn't go with the same rules as you did because I mentioned this on my whatever albums to game to. But it really is my favorite album from the 90s. It's Radiohead, The Bends. And of course, The Bends, Fake Plastic Trees, Planet Telex, Black Star, High and Dry. There's just so many good songs. And
showed up twice for you.
What'd you say?
I said it showed up twice for you.
It did. It's great. I listen to this song. I don't want to say I listen to it regularly, or this album, but I listen to it through a couple times a year when I'm driving. It's just, it never gets old to me. And a lot of other Radiohead stuff. I love Radiohead, but there's not many other albums that I can just go back to on the regular. And this one's it. I love this album. It's great.
All right. Yeah, I can get that. That's a good one. Definitely a good pick, for sure. Yeah, man, this list was hard. This was a hard list. I have my alt 5 that I was, because I compiled, I started going through music, and I'm writing down all these songs.
Yep.
And I whittled it down to 10, and then I had to cut it back to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to leave these for my next one.
Mm-hmm.
Or whenever we do another 90s, because we're going to have to do another 90s one.
We're going to have to. There's too many things. Maybe we can like
much.
narrow down, like specify certain.
Just 90s volume 2.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Because there was. I don't want to mention it on here in case I want to say it again later, but there was one album that just barely didn't make the cut. Like if I got to do 3, I'm like I almost made it.
It's hard. It's a hard thing.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. Like they put out like they got the Grammys or whatever. They got awards and stuff like that. And I feel like it's the same way with movies. Like there's a place for that.
How do you pick a top one?
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how you rate things like this. How do you rate art? Like you've got art critics.
It's subjective.
It is. It completely subjective. Is. Yeah. Somebody out there is saying like, "I hate Nirvana. Why did you put it on your list?" And that's
too
fine.
cliche.
Yeah. I one of my friends in particular can't stand Nirvana, and that's fine.
Oh wow.
But
you're just not friends anymore. I get it.
That's right. He lives in Los Angeles now, so. But I don't know. It is so subjective, and it's hard. You can't. I don't know how you really dish out. This is the best of the best. Like, how do you do that? You can't really.
Can't.
I think that's why when we do this stuff, like. It does, and I think that's why when we do this stuff, we make it a point and say, this isn't like a top 5 from like 5 to 1. It's our top 5 right now in no particular order because it'll change at some point. But
and we're leaving it open to continue.
Yes,
come back to or do again or revive or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, any closing thoughts on 90s music?
90s were the bomb, man. That's gosh, my kids would hear me say that and they'd be like, gosh, you're such a square, Dad.
So old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. 90s music is probably my it's right up there with some of my favorite music. I really like 90s music, but I graduated in the early 2000s, so like I have a place in my heart for like early 2000s emo.
There's a little emo Ryan out there.
Yeah, there is. I've got a playlist I made on Spotify that's called "I Was an Angsty Teenage Boy," and it's just a bunch. It's a bunch of like early 2000s emo, and it's fantastic. I tried to get my son to listen to it, and he listened to it for a little bit. I think it was like a New Year's Eve or something while we were playing cards. He had his AirPods in, and he was listening to it, and he never told me when he stopped listening to it. I'm like, "Oh, have you gotten to this song yet?" He's like, "Oh, I stopped a while back." I was like, "Okay,
fair enough."
Yes.
But, yeah. All right, yeah, we got to do like an emo one for sure. Yeah. Early 2000s emo, yeah, that's got to be one for sure.
Yep,
or maybe like punk pop.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. But anyways, well, we got no comments last week, so nothing to read off there. No other notes to mention. So, with that, we've reached another checkpoint, my friends. Remember, sharing is caring. Keep those tokens ready. And until next time, well, I still have to ask you an icebreaker. That's what it is.
You do.
I knew I was missing one thing.
I was going to let you finish out, and then I was going
to
embarrass you.
I did this last time. That's the icebreaker. That's right. Because see, my problem is in my notes I put the icebreaker under my sign off. I should have put it above it.
You got to space them in there, right?
Yeah. Okay. So my icebreaker for next week.
Question
we'll open the episode with: what's your favorite Saturday morning cartoon growing up?
That's going to take some thought. Which is good because we got a whole week to think about.
Yes. I've already got my answer, but
of course you do.
I proposed the question.
Yes.
But
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so with that, be kind and rewind. We'll see y'all
See
next
you
week.
later. This podcast takes tokens is a Clay Street production.